Yeah. Hello, everyone. We
Hi.
are live.
We are live, and I am just checking in to make sure that our peeps are going to get to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Go in public. Bam. All right, cool. We're good.
Sweet.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome back to this Sean and Sophia show. We're playing
Uh-oh.
around a little bit. I am the radical pleasurist and intimacy coach. And what are you calling yourself these days, Sean? Oh no. Well, Sean just outed and he's back. Woo! It's all about
Yeah.
mystery gals, you know what I'm saying? Like, gotta
Trickery.
in and out a little bit. Um, yeah. So
Yeah. Awesome.
I was asking, what do you call yourself these days, Sean?
I call myself a men's connection coach or a men's relationship coach. Yeah. Supporting men and deepening their ability to connect with themselves and others and deepening relationships.
Mm,
Relationships are the foundation of so much in our world, and it's also often overlooked, especially for men. So
mm.
really offering support in an arena that I feel like a lot of men don't usually have a lot of support in.
It is so true. Are you familiar with circling?
Oh yeah, I love circling. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Last night, I experienced my first circling.
Mm,
However, I've been doing Solsara, which is circling on steroids,
mm,
uh, for the past year. But last night was my first circling experience. My friend was facilitating a man, and I had a really great experience. Whoa.
nice.
First of all, for a lot of it, I was the only woman in a group of men.
Hmm.
I'm like, thank you, universe. Yes, please put me in a group of men. Keep it coming. I love it. And what I witnessed, Sean, was it was amazing. It was like I was a fly on the wall, except I was like really there. But what I witnessed was this beautiful tenderness and nurturing and physical intimacy between straight men.
Hmm.
And conflict, like there was conflict that came up for the men and awkwardness. And I just got to sit there. And at first I was like kind of bored.
Hmm.
To be honest, I was like, man, it's so annoying how men intellectualize everything
Hmm.
and are in their head. But then what's beautiful about circling everyone is that you get to express exactly what is happening for you moment to moment in your body, sensations, emotions, thoughts. So I was called out and I said, I don't know, I'm kind of like wavering between boredom and I'm having a lot of judgmental and critical thoughts. But the reflections that I needed, because my intuition told me to go, that I needed came to me, and it was like, whoa.
Hmm.
It was so beautiful, and there was this playful part of me that came out that I definitely want to touch upon with you. And actually, the first question I have for you today, Sean, is what makes you feel playful?
Mm. Yeah. Playfulness is my purest form. Um, Playfulness is like when I feel most comfortable and most safe, then my playfulness comes out. My beloved likes to say that I have a really bad sense of humor because it's really silly and it's ridiculous and it's like not very complex. It's really simple, but it's like there's a sense of like when I first enter into an environment, I tend to be like, if I'm not feeling really empowered, I tend to be really quiet and kind of reserved and witnessing and just watching what is happening in the space before I feel safe enough to come out and play. And once I feel that safety, then my child comes out and he just wants to be silly and playful and just open right up. And so my intimate relationships, be it like really close friends or partner or whatever, they all get that side of me more than anybody else does. But it feels really good to let those pieces come out. And something that I've had reflected back to me is how when I'm like willing to go into those spaces, that's actually a lot more magnetizing for people, that they want to lean in further because they want to know like what's going to happen next, because it's a lot more playful and explorative and creative versus when I'm in that other mode. And it's more like I'm like setting up like slight walls and creating like distance to keep myself safe. So it's like when I can break those walls down and go play, then it seems to make everybody a lot more happy. So.
Yeah, totally. That was the exact reflection. One of the reflections I received last night was there was another man in the group who is a co-facilitator, and I had been with him at a Samsara immersion, so this like really intense, intimate experience, and he totally called me out last night. He just asked I said something, and he asked me this question. And my little girl I became really shy and bashful and giggly, and it was really fun and playful. And it was really vulnerable. That space was so vulnerable. It was me and 4 men, and this like playful, giddy little girl is coming out because he just asked the right question. And I was like, damn, you got me. And so he had this perception of me of being really serious and like professional, which is so funny to me because I really don't like being that way ever.
Oh, interesting.
Like I love being playful and giggly all the time. If I could be, I would be. So he reflected back to me how he loved seeing this side of me, and he was really surprised to experience that. And I was like, well, you brought it out, dude. So congratulations. It was really fun. But I still want to know, what is it that triggers your playfulness? Like what helps you feel safe enough to then just let that part of you come out, let your little boy come out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the safety is not an external thing. Safety is an internal experience, and this has actually been one of the things that's been most up for me lately in terms of my personal development. Is living out here versus living back here, and I think for me it's like the thing because one of my greatest values is liberation as a form of freedom. And it's like, I want to be able to fully liberate myself and like share myself fully with you and feel accepted and loved. So it's like part of me wants you to see things so that you will accept me. But those same things that I want you to see are the same things that I want to hide because I'm afraid that you'll judge them, So at some point it becomes like the way that I started to tear down these walls is like I started naming these parts of me. With the assistance of some of the men in my life, we named these parts of me. So it's like Icy Sean and Saucy Sean. And one of the things that I realized is I started using like kind of an irreverent quality to break through that barrier. So like kind of like a I don't give a shit kind of feeling, and I'd start cussing a lot and just like being like really like, I don't care what you think kind of thing. And it was almost like my warrior was like plowing through some of the walls so he could like escort my little boy, my lover, into that safe zone. But I couldn't just like send the lover through those walls. I really needed like some warrior energy to push through and say, I'm solid enough to be able to do this and feel safe in that. And then of course, like being received in a good way is really important. So it's like, I started practicing that in the company of men and others that I feel safe with or have some semblance of safety with, or know that they will accept and be open to this experience. And the more I did that, then it's like the more I'm feeling more empowered in myself And the more I'm able to do that in every given situation and just trust in my own ability to just step out fully.
Mm.
So it's really that internal space of safety, just trusting and using the wisdom and the tools and the abilities and the different parts of me, the different archetypal parts of me that I have access to, and inviting the most ease of flow.
Mm. I love it. I really feel like you and I are of one heart, because this uh, experience of personas and archetypes
Mm-hmm.
totally came up in conversation in a super powerful way for me this week,
Mm.
that shifted me in it was a coffee date with a friend, a friend, and I'm just like, whoa, and like tapping into like the different parts of me. So yeah, like you're really speaking to my heart right now. And something else that you just said that's really really important, that has also been super alive for a while for me, and it's coming up again. And whoever comes on, please say hi. We love to know who's on. And you can share this right now as you're listening, is the tribe. That
Mm.
first you felt in what is safe for you internally, and like getting to know the different parts of yourself. And then from that space of trust in yourself, you started to, and let me know if I'm putting words in your mouth, started to discern like who is in your tribe, who then all parts of you will be feeling safe, who who will you feel safe with on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
where you can get to practice bringing out those different parts of you and showing up in different ways, and building up that confidence and um, those connections.
Yeah,
Tribe is so important, who we surround ourselves with.
it is. And in my experience was actually the opposite direction. Like I engaged with a certain tribe of men
Mm.
that I felt a lot of potential and power within, but I was still playing really small and quiet and reserved. And it
Mm.
was after, maybe a month or two of really engaging with them on a weekly basis that I finally, like, with their support and with my own like desire to break through these walls and me bringing them out, kind of in a circling format. Like we were circling each other over a meditation retreat weekend, and it was like I'm seeing how I always play in the back. I keep small and I keep quiet, and through that process with them, that's where the invitation came out for me to show up more. And so it was like I actually needed, just for my process around that, it was like getting involved with the tribe, and then having that support structure for me to even realize where I wanted to improve or make changes in my world, because I had the tribe. And I think it can go both ways. Like I need something, I'm recognizing this, I'm going to find the tribe, versus I'm in this tribe and letting like the emergent principles, which is like a circling idea, is like this ability to allow what wants to emerge through the group to come up. And when we surrender into that space of connection, then those things want to birth out of that. And I think that there's a lot of healing and growth that comes with that. And that's one of the reasons why I love the circling practice. It's just amazing. And I end up using a lot of the concepts with my clients, and just engaging with them in certain ways when when it's appropriate within the sessions, to engage in like more of a circling feel, to really understand their reality and get that shared reality.
Yes, absolutely. I would not be who I am as Sophia and as the radical pleasurist without these uh, experiences, the circling and the samsara, and the being allowed to show up exactly as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then we create, we're spreading that ripple with our clients, and they're spreading it with their people. So yeah, I'm so grateful for the facilitators and the people who are bringing this into the world
Absolutely.
for us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's, and what I heard, or what I'm imagining, is that there was this seed in you, that, the seed of courage or something that told you, I need to be in in these men's groups, because I
Hmm.
know men who crave that, but they still have a lot of resistance. There's I've known men who have had trauma around men, and so they stay really far away from men, and they have a lot of women friends and things like that. Um, so yeah, it's almost like underground, these men's groups, but they're not.
Hmm.
And I've known men, my former partner, who just continued, like, was seeking, and just wasn't finding the right place or something. So
Hmm.
whenever I hear men's groups, you know, I'm just like, all right, you got to go there. You got, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really powerful work. It is somewhat underground, but it's growing. I had come to this place. You mentioned like men having issues.
Oh boy. There's that freezing. You never know with technology, everybody. I'm sure that we shall be back in a few seconds. This is how it is, my friends. And we're back.
Did you hear anything?
I don't, you started talking about it's kind of underground, but it's growing.
Hmm. Yeah. Basically, what I was going to refer to is like, for one thing, the fact that there's many men who have trauma around men. That's more common than is really known or really honored in our society. That there's a lot of trust issues with men.
Mm.
I think it's interesting. Like when you start diving, when I started diving into the world of men's work and focusing on that, I started to realize how difficult it is for men with their issues because they're so underground. Like the feminist movement brought up so many of the women's issues to the surface. So it's like you can't turn the corner without seeing some element of that because it's all up in our awareness. But we have these belief systems that men just have it all made. And when you start like really digging into the meat of that, you start realizing there's so much pain and so much sadness and so much fear, but it's so like buried still. There's still so much shame about even speaking to that for men.
Right.
So men's groups is an amazing way for us to get the opportunity to heal those patterns. And for me, I was like, I want a men's group, so I made one. I just created one and started doing it, just like winging it. And in while I was doing that, I connected with other men who had had a men's group going for like 2 years, and
Mm.
it was founded in like the Mankind Project philosophy. But what's been amazing about this group is we're merging all these parts. We're merging circling and authentic relating and just all kinds of different ways of connecting and showing up and supporting each other and accountability and blessings and service and all these amazing things. So I actually set my men's group aside so that I could enter into this one. And it's really changed my life. Like there's no other way to put it, but that being involved with other men who are on the journey and they're open to showing up and speaking truthfully about what's happening for them, both their shadow and their gold. Like when we're able to do that, it's really magical. It's like we needed it. What I was witnessing was like there were so many women's groups. There was like so many women finding the support that they needed, thank goodness. And then I was like, but wait, the men are kind of losing, like we're not keeping up with the amazing like breakthroughs that the like women as a culture have really come to. So it was like now much more men are engaging in this work, which is really exciting for me because it's the work I do. I want to work with men and how they show up in relationship. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more opening for it now than there was even 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I've always, it's really interesting. This, I have always had compassion for men. When I was studying to be a sex therapist many years ago, the first paper I ever wrote was how it was on erectile dysfunction
Mm.
and how a major cause of that is the bigger societal message and the pressure that men feel to perform and be hard all the time and not have an opportunity to just say no and be themselves. Even back then, I had all this compassion. It's really funny. Um, um, but I imagine that, it's still maybe a little underground, or that it's slow in the growing, because men, probably have a lot of shame around even saying that they need men, or maybe they don't even know. Like they're supposed to just take care of shit and like be really quiet and not have any kind of emotional expression or not feel like they need anybody. But yet there's a big problem in relationships is that men become very dependent on their partners, their female partners, because that is the only space they feel safe. And then that creates a lot of pressure for women. So there's all these dynamics that get layered on top of each other when we deny ourselves what we really need. And men need men, women need women. It's just, for me, a big red flag. Well, I don't know if it's a red flag, but something that I'm very aware of, and that is a non-negotiable for whoever is my partner, my soulmate, is that he has to be in a community of men. He has to have a strong community of men, and not just like one man, but a community that he can go to, that he doesn't just go watch football with. Like that's one very important experience, but where he can be himself, really be himself, and not just with me, because I don't want to be the emotional dumping ground.
Yeah. I mean, it's important that we always have. There's a crazy echo happening. I think we said that sometimes it happens and then it goes away. So anyway, the echo is gone. It's funny when you're like listening to yourself speak back about a second delayed, it gets really confusing. So, yeah, I think emotional support for men. My beloved was sharing a story from a couple days ago where she went and visited a friend of hers, and she mentioned that I had my men's group that night, and the woman was like, what do you mean the men's group? Like, what do they do? And she was like, oh, they go, and talk about their emotions and their experience, and there's no drugs or alcohol. It's like super clean, and there's no. And she was like, wait, what? They're not drinking beers or anything. She was just like really surprised that these things even exist. And I think that's a common thread. But it's not that men don't want this. It's just that it's just not what their fathers taught them. Like my father never taught me anything like this. It's like we have. Those of us that needed something, I personally needed something. I needed to find a new way of being, which is why I went down this path of this work anyway, because I recognized how off everything was, and how like I started to witness how like just generationally we're just repeating these patterns over and over and over. And, it's like not our father's fault that they didn't know to teach us this, but they didn't know. But it is our responsibility. It's my responsibility to make a change in that, and to create a new way, and to show up in a new way for myself, my relationships, and, my family and everybody that I touch, so it's like the more men open up to like how amazing it feels to be emotionally supported, especially by other men, other good men. I think there's like, once you feel that, once I felt that, there's just no other option. There's no going back to anything else. That's something, like you said, that's almost a non-negotiable. It's totally needed. And I just like hope that more and more men get the opportunity to experience that, because the more they do, the more we'll see like the ripple effect of new ways of being occurring on the planet. It's like start healing the relationship to self, and start healing the relationship to self by being witnessed by others, and then relationship to other. And it just becomes this amazing thing where we're having a whole new experience with our lives when we're able to really speak truly about our experience, when we're taught the skills, when we learn the skills of how to actually communicate about our experience.
Yes, indeed. A thought that just came to me was, I'm going to be leading a worldwide women's circle I just said yes to that opportunity, and it's beautiful because on the same day, around the world, women are going to be leading these circles, and they can be as big as we want them to be. And the thought that came to me is that men need to do it too. You need to
Mm-hmm.
create a worldwide men's circle where
Mm-hmm.
it's just hordes of men going to the park, and you all are dancing or doing whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
and being together in really vulnerable ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so grateful that you're doing this work, Sean. So grateful. What I mean, you've already started talking about it. What was there this like catalyst or set of experiences that said to you, I need to do this. I have to work with men and help men with this.
Oh, yeah, it's like I was actually, when I was in the shower this morning, like I was thinking about this idea. I was like, what is the catalyst, you know? And I was like, the answer to that is such a synchronistic web of experiences and flows of things, you know? I mean, it spawns from like what I witnessed and experienced as a child, you know, and like how my father treated my mother, how he treated us, how he treated himself, how he continues to treat himself, you know? And then it's like I grow through my process, and I go into this major spiritual world. That's like kind of where my early adult foundations were, like super into the spiritual realms and really working with that inner landscape a lot. But what I started to realize was that you can do all of that work and still be really bad at being a human. Like you can still like be great meditator, but you can still be like really terrible in your relationships.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah,
saying that. All that spiritual bypassing bullshit.
spiritual bypass. Exactly.
Yeah.
That was
Like,
it.
look, I'm so
Yeah.
spiritual, but
Yeah.
like I'm an abuser. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
totally. Thank
it's a
you.
protective route. You know, it's like I'm trying. It's like a desire to want to be different, but again, not knowing. It's like when you're trying to improve yourself and you look out into the world of what's there, the first thing you're going to see is like spiritual stuff. You know, healing and spiritual work, but it's not necessarily interpersonal and relational work. And I think that's where things really like transform.
Yeah, it's the grounded piece.
Right.
I know a lot of healers who are super great at talking to angels and shit, but they are not on this earth. They are not grounded. And if you
Mm-hmm.
can't be grounded, then I don't think you can have relationships. So that
Yeah.
grounded anchored piece is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's where the transition came. It's like from out of the spiritual realm and grounding down into the, you know, basically working with all these upper chakras, and then like, oh, I'm like totally abandoning my human form, you know, and it's like I just came to this place where, you know, there were a few triggers that occurred that sparked this awareness in me where it was like, oh, I'm going to be like, if you believe in spiritual things, maybe you believe in that we're eternal beings. So it's like, if you're an eternal being, just, you know, like, just as an example, if you're an eternal being, but you're on the earth and you're embodied maybe for one lifetime, you know, maybe you're going to spend whatever 100 years in this body. Why would you spend the entire time trying to be that eternal being? Why wouldn't you spend the time as a human as a really good human, you know? And it's like I started to realize that if you want to really create change, like if you want to see something be different on the planet, there is a piece of like energetically you have to just show up in a certain way. But if you ever want to make anything happen on a real level, on a physical form, it all has to do with your relationships. You have to connect to other people. You have to be connected. You have to work with others in order for anything to be different on a physical form level. So it's like, wow. And like, as I started to realize that we need relationships so heavily, like we need practice in that world, that's when it like dawned on me, like, oh, men specifically we're just not taught this. You know, we're taught that relationships are for women and sex is for men. And that's all you have to worry about is the sex, you know? And so it's like, wow, we just need this support, and the time is right. You know, it's like not just that there's this need for it, but there's also a willingness. There's an opening, there's an availability occurring right now, kind of across our species that's inviting a new way of being for men. And I want to be a part of that, and I want to support that.
So you said there were some triggers. What were the triggers for you?
Well, hmm. So, for me personally, my triggers were around the recognition that I had been living outside of my body for most of my life, and that for me, like I was living in that spiritual realm, and it had served me in so many ways, but it was just time to ground that into something tangible. Um, and what was like the big like push for me was kind of a negative situation. I just witnessed somebody that was holding a space of like stature in the spiritual community. He was like somebody that was like a guide, and I found out about some like things that I disapproved of in terms of the way he approached sexuality and relationships, and just doing things in ways that I personally disapproved of. And it was in that moment where I was like, I got really angry about it, that it hit me. That's a perfect example. It's a perfect reflection of me too. Like it's a perfect reflection of how you can be in this like totally spiritual place, but still make really poor decisions that affect people in a really bad way, because it's like sexuality somehow, like even for the people that are deep on their spiritual path, for me on my spiritual path, sexuality was still.
Of course. Hmm. What is the universe saying? Well, we're going to talk about sexuality no matter what, even if we get cut off 14 million times. We're still going to talk about it.
Oh
The
man.
universe is fucking with us, right?
Yeah, it's
Totally
okay.
fucking with us. And I was just saying that we're going to talk about sexuality no matter what, even if we get cut off 44 million times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting because it came up last night in circling,
Mm.
and it catalyzed some really awesome work. It catalyzed conflict. There was another woman in my group, and she ended up leaving. And
Mm.
it's, yeah, she ended up leaving, and she and I had a lot in common. And I was really curious about her, but she ended up leaving because she didn't feel safe
Mm.
uh, in the environment, because and she was with her partner, a man, and this there was this conflict arising that started from a conversation about sex, and she
Mhm.
left.
Mm.
And it's just, yeah, like we need to talk about this. We need to keep talking about it. But anyway, so you were saying um, people making poor decisions, even though they are living in the spiritual
Yeah.
arena realm, but still making poor decisions.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like when you're focused totally up here and you're not really practicing how to be a really good human and how to make decisions that are healthy, especially in terms of relationship and sexuality. Like that's my shadow from my past, is like really poor decisions in terms of sexual encounters or relationships when I was living in this like super spiritual kind of place, but somehow I was really still making bad decisions. And I think that sexuality is the deepest shadow that remains, even for people that are doing a lot of personal growth work. And it's like one of our greatest, it's our creativity, it's our power, it's our beauty, it's our God selves. And it's like when we tap back into that and show up for it and learn to wield it in a good way, I think that for me, that is more of my spirituality now than all that other stuff that I was doing. At that time, it was like all this meditation and it was all way out here in these visioning. Now it's like, how much can I be in my body and how much can I experience connection and show up and stay connected even through the conflict and the dissonance, which is what you
Mm.
were referring to. It's like, to me, that's more important. So I really honor those experiences that happened, even though they really pissed me off at those times and they were the triggers. Like, I'm so grateful for them because it pushed me, it like showed me a doorway that was really important for me to walk through. And once I walked through that door, it how like all the puzzle pieces collapsed behind me and allowed me to see how everything in my life had led me to that point. Like every experience that I'd had up to that moment was perfect for me to like walk through that doorway finally and realize like this is where I need to be and this is the work I need to be doing.
I love it. I feel you, brother. I feel you. That's so beautiful. It's not a coincidence that sexual energy keeps coming up. I was on a call with my client yesterday, and she's so vibrant and energetic, and she's talking about sexual energy and how up until this point in her life, it has led her to making decisions that were not grounded in her intuition and divine self. And it wasn't, I was telling her that your sexual energy is so beautiful and it's so creative, but we have learned that there's only one way to express it, and that's through our genitals. Mm-hmm. But there's ways to harness that energy and move it so that we can use it in the ways that we want to use it, moment to moment, making the decision from our intuitive selves and our wild women and wild men and all this stuff. And that is where I think that's where the power is where we get to move all of this wonderful energy. It keeps coming up.
I think it will continue to keep coming up. I think
yes.
That's important.
Reflection for both of us. Like, oh, yeah, I know for me, like, okay, I guess I need to keep looking at it. Yeah.
I mean, I think sexuality we're talking, like talking from myself, sexuality is my biggest shadow. And I think that's pretty much, you could probably superimpose that on most of Western society, is because we keep, like anything you keep in the shadows to the degree that we do, like even nudity. And it's like all these things, we just try to suppress all that and pretend like it's not there. And then it's like, don't look, don't touch, It's like, what's the one thing you want, like any shadow that you try to like suppress or like deny, it's the most intense thing in your psyche because you're not willing to look at it. All it wants you to do is fucking look at it, And so it's like the more we look, the less intense, the less it's like steering the ship from underneath. Like the more we just turn and we're like, yeah, this is a real thing. And this is a urge that I have. And this is desire. And this is creativity. Like the more we just turn and look at it, engage it and receive it, the more we realize it doesn't have to overtake us. It doesn't have to control us. We can actually wield it in terms of, like you said, using it for other creative zones and bringing it out in other amazing ways that enrich life versus destroy it, which is what it'll do when we deny it, when we try to hide it.
Preach, brother.
Preach.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much. I feel like this is a really great space to complete for us.
Yeah.
And time flies. It's like, ooh, but then we can just like give you more juiciness as the weeks go by. I just feel like you and I are, as well as so many others in the world, are shedding that light. Like we are the light that is illuminating these shadows, and we're bringing I was with a friend yesterday, making the controversial uncontroversial, making the taboo mainstream, being able to talk about this just over and over and over and over, and we'll beat this shit. I don't want to say beating a dead horse because that's just morbid, but like we're gonna keep repeating this over and over again. And when you all are ready, whoever is listening to this, please share, because somebody will need to hear this. There's going to be that moment, that little crack in your wall where our words are going to come through and you're going to be like, whoa, yes, I needed to hear this in this moment. So that's what we're here to do, to shed this light and be fun and playful, because that's what we like. And yeah, Sean, can I share your website? Is it ready to go? Like I can share it in the
Yeah, sure. It's
or whatever.
yeah, because it's really simple right now, and the invitation is always to have a conversation with me, even throughout that website. What I do is I offer a free hour-long breakthrough session with for any man who's interested in improving their relationships, specifically their romantic relationships, but really any. It's like if you just want some one-on-one support, talk to me for an hour and let's see what we can do. People find a lot of value in that hour-long breakthrough session, and it's free. So if you're interested in that, just follow the link to my website and sign up for one.
Yes. Yeah, please take advantage of that. And I'll leave some good stuff too for you all. And we will see you next week, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good week.